Hello gamers, it's Tom Sidener, the Lonely Gamer. Today I'm going to attempt to do a combat example for Malifaux's Through the Breach RPG using a magic character. Now this has been a very highly requested video. I've previously done a video where I did combat with a melee character, or actually it was a ranged character, but it was a standard combat. But a lot of people have asked me, can I do the same thing using a character that uses magic? And I'm going to attempt to do that. Now, I will say that I've read over the rules many times and they're not super clear on magic stuff. So if I do anything wrong at all, please go ahead and leave a comment down in the comment section. I'm pretty sure I'm doing everything right, but I won't say 100%. But this will at least give you a good jumping off point to playing a magic character in Through the Breach, the Malifaux RPG by Wyrd. Okay, so first of all, I had to create a character that was a magic-based character. So my character's name is Malifaux. Malifaux is a dabbler. Her father was a mad scientist. And she starts out with some aspects. I'm not very mighty. I'm not very strong, so I have a 0 in might. I'm not very graceful or very speedy. I have a -1 in both. The -1 in speed has helped me out a little bit because I went ahead and took the calm and collected talent. You have to have a -1 in speed to take that, but I'm able to add a +1 to any focuses I do, and that's going to be very important for me as a new spellcaster, and you'll see that as I do my spells. I have a lot of resilience. I have +3 in resilience, so that's going to help me have a little more wounds available than I normally would. I have a high intellect. I have a +3 in intellect. I have no charm. I'm 0 at charm, so I'm just kind of on the base for charm. I have +1 in cunning and -3 in tenacity. So anything that has to do with tenacity, I'm not very good at. My derived aspects, just so you know, I have a defense of 3. I have a walk of 4. My charge is also 4 because I'm not very speedy. I have a willpower of 2, so any willpower battles that I may have to do are not going to be very good for me. I also have a height of 2, and like I said, a wounds of 7. So let's talk about some of the things to do with my magical skills. So first of all, in order to be a magic user in Through the Breach, you have to first claim a magical theory. So I'm going to put this out here for you to see. I claimed the magical theory Hedge Mage. Pretty much what it means to be a Hedge Mage is that you have to select an element. And I selected the element Light. It's elemental Motu. And you have to apply, as a Hedge Mage, this Motu to every spell that you cast. No matter whether it's a good spell or a bad spell. So if you are a Hedge Mage and let's say your Motu was fire and you tried to heal somebody with a spell, you could actually set them on fire trying to heal it. So I tried to pick an Motu that was not as bad when it comes to the damaging effects of it. So I picked Light. Light actually can blind somebody, so when I'm using it in my attacks, it can blind somebody. The nice thing about Light is it says if the person suffers damage, then they gain the blind condition. That way if I'm doing a spell like where I'm not doing damage on somebody, I don't have to apply the blind condition to that person. So I'm a Hedge Mage. The other thing that the Hedge Mage does is it lets you subtract the cost of your selected Motu from your TN. So I never have to add the +1 to the TN of my spells because it is my Hedge Mage selected Motu. Okay, so I've got my magical theory. Because of this magical theory, I had to select this Motu, but I also have a couple more Motus in my bag of tricks. So once you have your magical theory, the next thing you have to be a magic user in Through the Breach is you have to have a grimoire. Now, I selected the Dabbler, and the Dabbler actually gets a grimoire to start the game. So I received a grimoire. In that grimoire, I have to have one sorcery spell. So for my sorcery spell, I selected Elemental Projectile. This is a combat example, so I wanted to make sure I picked a spell that actually had some combat use in it. So I picked Elemental Projectile. It runs off my intellect, which is really good because my intellect is 3. It has an AP cost of 1. It has a TN of 5 books. The book is the hard part. Now, as I become a more advanced spellcaster, then I can actually, at some point, I think it's at level 3, I can actually add a book to one of my skills. But right now, I don't have any books that I get automatically, so I have to have a book on my card in order for this skill to go off. The resistance is defense of the person I'm applying it to, and it has a range of 5 yards. When I cast this spell, the target suffers 1, 2, or 3 damage, depending on whether it's minor, mid, or extreme damage. I also, for my grimoire, was able to pick a spell from one of the other 3 spell areas, necromancy, prestidigitation, or enchanting. I went ahead and picked the spell from prestidigitation, and I picked the spell teleport. This spell will allow me to teleport myself or some other thing. It's based on my intellect as well, so that's good. I have a high intellect. It's 1 AP. It has a TN of 10 mask. So there again, I have to have the mask on my card because I do not have any inherent masks in any of my skills. The resistance is the character's WP, so if it's me, I can always say that I'm not resisting it. You can always do that in Through the Breach, but if it's a minion or somebody I'm fighting against, then I would use their willpower to see if I can teleport them away. And the range on the teleport is 10 yards. I also picked 2 more motus. My grimoire can hold 1 spell that's a sorcery, 1 spell that's one of the other 3, and then 3 motus. I had to pick an elemental motu for my hedge mage, but then I also picked 2 other ones, and the 2 that I picked were increased damage. There's my increased damage. And I picked reduce AP. Reduce AP is a simple one. It merely just reduces the AP of the spell by 1, but because both of my spells are 1 AP spells, I can reduce them both to 0. Now, you can only do 1 0 action per turn, but it allows me to have 1 extra action of one of these spells if I need to. It does add TN5 to the spell, so the spell gets harder to cast, but it is free to try to cast. The other thing is increased damage. It has a TN of 2, but the nice thing about increased damage is I can apply that multiple times. So I've actually got these little tokens here, and when I cast this, I will put as many tokens on here as I want to increase my spell. Now the way it works, you find the damage that your spell normally would do, and my spell normally does 1, 2, and 3. So I find 1, 2, and 3 on this chart, and if I want to increase it by 1, it costs me plus 2 TN, and I go to 1, 3, and 4. If I want to go by 2, it costs me 4 TN, and I go to 2, 3, and 4. And if I want to do it by 3, it costs me 6 TN, and I go to 2, 4, and 5, and so on and so forth. So I can actually pump this up just based on what my TN is. And that's it. That's my entire grimoire. I'm using these really cool cards that you've seen that were put out by Wyrd. I was able to get these at Gen Con. I don't think they're available to the general public yet, but when they come out, I highly recommend using these if you're a spellcaster and Through the Breach. It makes it so nice. And what I do is, what you'll see when I play, is I actually put out the different cards that I'm using when I cast a spell, so I don't forget to add or subtract anything from my spell. This is what the box looks like when I got it at Gen Con. It's got all of the different spells from the new 2nd edition book. It also has some really nice reference cards for general reference stuff like walk, and I've got a Soulstone one here. You can see as an example, this is a Soulstone reference card. I've got this reference card out because my great aunt who passed away left me a fully charged Soulstone, so I'm going to be possibly using that in this combat. So I've got this that will tell me what I need to do. So when this comes out, I highly recommend picking this up if you're a Magic user in Through the Breach. I know that one of the bones of contention on this game is how tricky and difficult the magic system is in this game, but these really help. These really help you to keep things organized, and it really helps you to understand what's going on. So let's get going in this combat example. The first thing is I am going to be fighting against a couple Terror Tots. I know in my last combat example I fought against young Nephilims, but I got killed, I died. If you go back and watch that, in fact, I'll put the link to the original one in the show notes. So this time I decided to take on a little bit of a smaller creature. They're not much smaller, but they're a little smaller, and those are the Terror Tots. And I'm going to bring the book over here, and I'm going to hold it up to the camera real quick so that you can see what the Terror Tots, what their stats are. And if you want to pause this video and write those down so you can follow along, that's fine with me. But I'm going to bring it over real quick and show you. So here you go. Here are the stats for the Terror Tots. On here is everything. They've got wounds of 4, which will be real important. They've got some blackened claws, which will do a 10 attack on me, so I'm going to have to be careful for them. They do have black blood, so I do have to be careful of the black blood. If I'm within a yard of them, whenever they take damage, I take a damage as well. And they have a defense of 11. They're a minion, so they're a level 5, and so that level 5 gets attached to their defense, giving them 11 defense. And like I said, you can pause this and read through this if you want. Otherwise, I'm going to go back to the game and move forward. So in this example, I do have a green token here to represent one of the Terror Tots, and I have a gold token here to represent the other Terror Tot. I have 4 gold tokens here to represent that Terror Tot's life, and 4 green to represent this Terror Tot's life. I also have 2 blue action tokens for each one, so I can keep track of whether or not they've done their actions. I also have 2 action tokens for me. They're also blue, and I have 7 red tokens here to represent my life. I also have a red token on the board to represent my character. Now, you don't have to use this when playing Through the Breach, but I actually find this to be very helpful when it comes to tactical combat, just so I can see where things are. I don't have to try to figure out how far away they are because I've got this grid set up in 1-yard grids, so movement is very easy on here. So I like to use this, but like I said, you don't have to use this. I'm also using the new Tarot card deck that I picked up at Gen Con. This is what the box looks like for it, and these cards are very large, and it's really nice when you're playing Through the Breach because everybody at the table can see these cards really easily. I also have my twist deck right here, so this is my twist deck of 13 cards that I get to draw from. My special ability, I can't remember what it's called like ongoing something, but my special ability is if I fail at a magic spell of any type during my turn, I actually get to draw a card. So that's kind of nice, so it does give a benefit to kind of failing at stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shuffle up my twist deck, and I'm going to draw 3 cards to start this combat round. And now we're ready to go ahead and start with combat. I'll go ahead and show you what I actually drew. Normally you won't know what the other people draw, but I'll show you what I actually drew in my hand. So I drew a 2 of crows, a 5 of tomes, and a 3 of rams. None of them are very helpful to me, so this is going to be a rough battle, I'm afraid to say. I will say that being a magic user is tough. One other thing, I do have a sword for my character, so if I do get cornered or I do get into melee combat, I can use my sword if I need to. But I'm going to try to do as much magic in this combat as I possibly can. So I'm going to pick these back up into my hand, and we're going to go ahead and start. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do initiative. I'm going to look on here, and I'm going to see that the Terror Tots have an initiative of 10. So I'm going to flip a card. I'm going to add my initiative of 0 to that, and that's going to be my initiative. So I'm going to flip a card here, and I got a 7. So my initiative is 7. So I will not be going first. The Terror Tots are both going to get to go before me. That might be okay. We'll see how it works out. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the green Terror Tot first, and then the gold Terror Tot during the turn. So I'll go ahead and move these around so that they're in the right order here. The green Terratot has a walk of 6. They can move pretty far, and they have a charge of 8. So if I count, they can't get to me on a charge, so they're not going to be able to charge on this first turn. So for the first action of this guy, they could do a run, which maybe I'll go ahead and have them do a run just for fairness. But what the run does is they take double their speed plus their athletic skill, and the athletic skill of this character is 2, so then he would actually get 2 more movement, like that. So he gets 12, 13, 14 for their movement. So I'm going to do the same thing with the other Nephilim. I'm going to spend 2 actions to do a run, so he's going to get to move 6 plus 6 plus 2, which is 14. Now these guys are right on me already, and this is kind of a concern for me because my magic spell, my elemental projectile, is a ranged spell. You can see it's ranged 5 yards. So I cannot use that when I'm in melee combat, when they're right up on me. So I'm going to have to be careful to kind of stay away from them if I can. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I am going to spend one of my actions, and with that action I am going to attempt to focus. Now, like I said earlier, I took the calm and collected, so when I focus 1, I actually focus 2. So right now I've got a focus 2. Now focus 2 allows you to use those focus to get pluses on things you do on your turn, like shooting or casting spells and stuff like that. You have to use the focus on your turn, otherwise you lose them at the end of your turn. So I've got focus 2 now, and if I don't use that to do something during my turn, I will lose it. So I'm going to focus 2 with my first. Normally you would focus 1, but calm and collected allows me to focus again. And then I'm going to attempt to cast a spell. The Terratots have a defense of 11, so not only do I need to meet the TN of my spell, I also have to meet the TN of 11 in order to hit them. Now, that's actually good because that actually pushes me to do some more things with my spell. My spell is actually pretty low to cast, but I can bump it up, and if I bump it up right next to what I need to hit them, then it benefits me and really doesn't hurt me any, because I have to beat both my TN for my spell and the TN for the defense for the Terratot. So I am going to spend my other action, and I'm going to spend that action to cast Elemental Projectile. I also have to add light to it because I have no choice, because I'm a hedge mage and I have to add that to all of my spells. I also am going to go ahead and increase the damage, and I'm going to increase the damage 3 times. So I'm going to put 3 tokens on there to show that I'm increasing the damage 3 times. Now, this is a TN of 5 book. I also have a TN of 1 from the light, but I do not have to pay that because I'm the hedge mage and I don't have to pay that. I also am doing this 3 times, so I'm adding 6 to this. So now my TN to complete this spell right here is TN 11. So 11 books. So I have to have 11 and I have to have a book. Now, my sorcery rating is 6. So I know that I'm going to get to add 6 to whatever my card flip is that I turn up. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to not use my focus. Now remember, I focus 2, but I'm not going to use it. So since I'm not using my focus, I only get to flip 1 card. So I'm going to go ahead and flip 1 card, and I get a 6 of Ram. So currently my spell is failing because the 6 of Ram is not going to get me to 11 book. It would get me to 12 Ram, but that is not a success for this spell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead from my hand, I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to cheat with a 5 of Tomes. This 5 of Tomes plus my 6 of sorcery that I have will give me 11 tone. And that's exactly what I need to complete this spell. So this spell is going to go off. I am hitting him for 11 and his defense is 11, so that is a tie. So anytime you have a tie, that's a -2 flip. So I actually have to flip 3 cards for damage and take the lowest one. But I did bump up my damage, so hopefully that will help. So I'm going to go ahead and move this out here, and I'm going to go ahead and flip my damage flips. I got a 6 of mask, I got a 10 of crows, and I got a 1 of rams. So I have to take this 1 of rams. I don't have any choice. That is the first number on my spell for damage, but I did bump it up. So I normally would be 1, 2, 3, but I bumped it up 1, 2, 3 spaces. So I actually do 2 damage to this Terratot. And I'm going to say I was attacking the green. I didn't say that ahead of time, but I'm attacking the green guy. So now the green guy takes 2 damage. I am not within 1 yard of him, so I do not take any damage for bad blood. I did use a card, but I did not fail my magic, so I do not get to draw a card. This card will go into my personal discard pile for my twist deck. The combat is over, and everything resolves. Now you're probably asking yourself, why didn't I use my Focus 2? Well, the reason I didn't use my Focus 2 is because I had a 5 of tomes in my hand, so I knew I was going to be able to hit him. I knew I could cheat it if I didn't get what I needed on the flip. And I also know that I've got my special Reduce AP spell that I can do to reduce a spell to 0. So I'm going to actually go ahead, even though I don't have any more AP left, I'm going to go ahead and cast another spell because I can cast it at a 0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cast my Elemental Projectile again. This time, instead of bumping up the damage, I'm actually going to reduce the AP. That's going to take me to 10 TN that I have to do, but this is not going to cost me an AP to cast. I do have to include the light, and I think I will go ahead and up the damage a little bit as well. Since I need to get 11 anyway, I could go ahead and bump that up to 12 and maybe do a little extra damage. So right now, my TN is 5 plus 5 plus 2, which will be 12 that I have to get to complete the thing. I had to include the light because that's my Hedge Mage Emoto. I will say another thing, the green Terratot did take damage, so he is now blinded. So on his turn, when he attacks, he actually takes a -/ to his attack for the next round. I am going to attack the green Terratot again, so I'm going to flip for that, but I'm going to use my Focus 2 this time. So this time I get to draw 3 cards and take the highest number. So the first card I draw is a 13 of books. That is great. I have to have the book for it to go off, and that is a great number. So I am going to go ahead and draw some more, but I'm probably going to keep that one. I draw a 4 of books, which is not good for me, and I also draw a 5 of rams, which is not good for me. So I am going to select the 13 of books as my card. So right now I've got 13 plus my 6 for my sorcery, so I have 19 book, and that is going to go ahead and fire that off. Now, because I have 19 of book and he has 11 of defense, I have beat him by, let's see, I've beat him by 8 points. So anything over 5 is a straight flip that can be cheated. Anything over 10 is a plus flip that can be cheated. But unfortunately, it's only 8, so I only get a straight flip. So whatever I flip here is what's going to be the damage that he takes. And I'm really hoping for a high number here. I flip it over and I get a 3 of rams. That is not a high number. Even though I bumped up my spell here, you can see I'm normally at 1, 2, 3. I go to 1, 3, 4. But because this is a minor damage, I can't. I can only do 1 damage to him. And unfortunately, as you remember from my cards originally, I have 2 minors in my hand. So even if I cheated it, it's not going to help me. So this guy's going to take another damage, but he's still going to be alive, but he is blinded. And that's the end of my turn. This spell did go off, so I don't get to draw another card. So I'm going to take back all of my cards here, and that is the end of the round. So now, at the beginning of the round, we go ahead and we give each person, or we give each character 2 AP. So 2 AP for each one of the Terratots, and 2 AP for me. I wish I could draw a card, but I can't. So now we go into the next round, and the Terratots have initiative. So, the green Terratot is going to go ahead and he's going to move. He's going to move right up next to me. That's not good for me because it alleviates my ability to be able to cast that projectile spell at him, since that's a ranged attack. But he's going to go ahead and try to attack me. His attack uses blackened claws. He has a AV of 10, which means that he hits me on, if I have to get better, I have to get a 10 or better in order to not be hit by him. He also has a range of 1, which is no big deal, and I resist off my defense. His damage is 1, 2, and 4, depending on how hard he damages me. So he's going to take a swing at me. Now remember, he is blinded, so he gets a -2 flip. So I'm going to flip 3 cards. So he has a -3 flip, so I am going to draw 3 cards, and I get to take the highest. Now this seems a little backwards because the Terratots never actually draw cards. I am the one drawing cards. In Through the Breach, the Fated is the only one that draws cards. The Fate Master characters never draw cards. And so in order for him to attack me, I actually draw for defense. And so since he has a -3, I actually draw 3 and get to take the highest. So I'm going to go ahead and take this 11 for my defense. His attack is 10, so he missed me. That's the end of his turn because he moved and he attacked. And now we go to the other Terratot. The other Terratot, the gold one, is going to move. He's going to move adjacent to me as well. And he's going to attack. He's going to use a AP to attack. But in this case, I only get to flip 1 card. And I have to take the card that I flip. So I'm going to go ahead and flip. I got the red Joker. That means that he automatically missed me. That was a great pull. I kind of wish I'd have pulled that on a damage on one of them, because if you pull the red Joker on a damage, it's I think it's the highest level damage plus the weak damage. But anyway, he missed me on the red Joker, and that's the end of their turn. Now I have kind of a dilemma because I cannot use my magic spell on them because I'm right next to them. I can either use my sword or I can try to get away from them. And since I'm trying to do an example, normally in this case I would probably use my sword and try to take out this one Terratot. I would have to take some damage from Black Blood, but since I'm doing an example of magic casting, I'm actually going to try to use a spell to get away from these guys. So I am going to cast Teleport. This is one of my other spells. I do have to assign light to it because I'm a hedge mage and I have to assign light to all of my spells. I could try to set this up so that it is a 0 cost by doing the reduce AP, but I don't really want to because it's already a 10 of masks anyway. You know what I have in my hand, so I'm really hoping for a good flip. I'm hoping for a flip of mask, and my prestidigitation skill is 5, so I'm hoping for at least a 5 of mask. So I'm going to go ahead and flip. This is really taking a chance. And I got a 12 of mask. That's pretty darn lucky. So I did a 12 of mask. The teleport spell does go off. It does have a resist of WP, but I'm choosing not to resist my own spell. So I can go ahead and make that happen without actually doing anything. So I am going to go ahead and teleport myself, and I'm going to teleport myself up to 10 spaces away. Now I could have tried to teleport one of the Terratots. They would have had a chance to resist. It's much easier to teleport myself. So I'm going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now I'm away from them, and now I can attempt to hit one of them with a magic spell. So I'm going to use my next AP to cast a spell. You still know what I have in my hand, so it's not real good, but I'm going to go ahead and try to do Elemental Projectile. I'm going to try and pump up the damage. I might as well because I need an 11 to hit them anyway, so I'm going to try to pump it up 3. I am targeting the green Terratot. I do have to add light to it. I have no choice. And I'm going to go ahead and flip for that. Now I only get to flip one card because I did not focus. I didn't have enough of these to focus. What I could do, which might be the better thing to do, I think what I will do instead of that, I think I will go ahead and focus. That'll give me a focus 2 because of my talent. And then instead of pumping this up by 3, I'll just pump it up by 1. And I'll go ahead and reduce the AP to 0. So this way, I was able to focus and cast my spell. Now I do get to, since I'm focused 2, I get to draw 3 cards and take the highest one. So, and I definitely need a book for this in my thing. I do not have a book in my hand. So I'm going to go ahead and draw 3 cards. The first card I draw is a 12 of books. That's really good. I draw a 9 of crows, and then I draw a 7 of rams. I'm going to keep the 12 of book. That's going to give me 18 book. On here I need an 11 to hit him on his defense, so I'm going to hit him by 7. So I'm going to get a straight flip for damage, which can be cheated. I did pump it up, so instead of 1, 2, 3, I have 1, 3, 4. So I'm going to go ahead and do my straight flip. Of course, I got a 1 for my damage. That's okay. I'm going to do 1 damage, and I'm going to kill the green Terratot. He's out of the game because he only had 1 left. I'm far enough away, don't have to worry about black blood. And that's the end of my turn. I've used up all of my action points, so we reset. I get my 2 action points back, and the gold Terratot gets his 2 action points. The Terratot still has the advantage on initiative, so he's going to go ahead and get to go first in this round. So he's going to spend 1 AP. He has a charge of 8. So he's actually going to spend 2 AP, and he's going to charge me. So he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So when he does a charge, he's going to move his charge, which is 8, and then he gets to make 2 strikes at me with a melee weapon, as long as the melee weapon is a 1 AP weapon, and his blackened claws are a 1 AP weapon. So he's going to try to hit me twice with his blackened claws. So he has a AV of 10 on his blackened claws, so he doesn't draw cards, I draw cards, so I am going to try to draw a card and beat his 10. Now I do get to add my defense to his to my draw, so my defense is 3, so whatever I draw I will get to add the defense of 3 to it, because the resistance of his claws is defense. I'm going to go ahead and draw my card. I got an 11 of mask. I add that to my 3 of defense, and I have a 14 mask, which is enough to evade or not be hit by his attack. He's going to attack me again. He gets 2. So I'm going to draw for defense again. I drew a 3 of books. I have 3 plus 3 is 6. His 10 actually hits me, so he's going to do damage. His attack was 10. My defense was 6. So that's a difference of 4. So 4 is less than 5, so that is a negative flip. So he has to draw 2 and take the lowest on damage. So he draws a 7 and a 4. The 4 is lower, so I'm going to take the lowest amount of damage, and that is going to be 1. So I'm going to take 1 damage from his blackened claws. It is now my turn, and I'm going to try to teleport away from him like I did last time. I could attack him with my sword, but I'm kind of trying to show the magic stuff, so I'll go ahead and keep my sword sheathed and just go magic all out. So I'm going to try to teleport. I'm going to go ahead and add my light to it. Now teleport doesn't do any damage, so even if I teleported, it doesn't make that guy blind. It would only be on an attack that does damage. I am going to go ahead and use 1 to focus, because I would like to get away from him. That gives me a focus 2. So now I need a 10 of mask. So I really need a 5 of mask because I have 5 in my prestidigitation. So I'm going to need a 10 of mask to move away from him. So I'm going to go ahead and draw 3 cards and take the one I want. So I got a 13 of ram. That doesn't help me. I got a 1 of book. That doesn't help me. And I got a 2 of ram. And that also does not help me. So my teleport failed. So I failed to teleport. So because I failed to teleport, and that cost me both my actions, I actually get to draw a card. This is what I drew, the 12 of mask, just so you know what I drew. And that is the end of my turn. I could try to, since I drew that 12 of mask, I could try to teleport again, and maybe that's the best thing to do. I'm going to go ahead and do a teleport, but the thing is, if I teleport, can charge me next time. I think I'm going to go ahead and end my turn there, and then next time I'll have this 12 of mask I can use to make my teleport more effective. So we're going to go ahead and reset. The Terratot's going to get 2 actions. I'm going to get 2 actions, and we go ahead and start the next round. The Terratot gets to go first. He's going to use his first action to attack me. He cannot charge because he's already engaged. So he's going to use the first action to attack me. So I'm going to go ahead and flip for my defense. He's hitting me with 10. I get a standard flip. So I get a 6 plus my 3 is 9. That's not enough to keep his 10 away. So he does damage me. He only beat me by 1. So 1 is a negative flip. So he draws 2. And we take the lowest one. So I take this. It's a 7. So that's a level 2 damage. So I have to take 2 damage because it's 1, 2, and 4. I take 2 damage. He's going to use his other AP to attack me again. I'm going to flip for my defense. My defense is 8 plus 3. That's 11. That's higher than 10. So he missed me on that one. Now it is my turn, and now I need to get away from him so I can actually do a spell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do a teleport. I have to add light to it. I don't need to add anything else to it because I don't want to do anything different, so I'm just going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and do a standard flip, and that's going to cost me 1 AP. So I'm going to flip, and I got a 4 of rams. That does not meet my 10 of mask that I need for this to go off, so I'm going to cheat with a 12 of mask, and this thing is going to happen, and I'm going to get to move 10 spaces away. Now I'm actually going to only move 5 spaces away because I want to be able to attack him, and my range on my elemental projectile is 5 yards, so if I move 10 spaces away, I will not be able to attack him. So I'm only going to move 5 spaces away. This goes to my personal discard pile. These go back. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and focus. So I'm going to spend one of my APs to get focus 2. And then I'm going to go ahead and try to do my elemental projectile. I have to add my light. And I'm going to put this on there to reduce the AP to 0. So I can do it as a free action. And I might as well go ahead and pump it up. That puts me at 12. I have to have 11 anyway to hit the Terratot, so I might as well put this at 12. Because if I end up getting 11, I'm really mad at myself. But anyway, so since I focus 2, the only reason normally you only get to focus 1, but I get to focus 2 because I have the calm and collected. I'm going to get to draw 3 cards and take the one that I want. Now, that's not always going to be the highest one because I need a book. So I'm going to draw 3 cards. Here's my first card. I got a 13 of crows. That won't help me. I got a 9 of mask. That won't help me. And I got a 3 of crows, and that doesn't help me. So that spell failed. But because that spell failed, I get to draw a card. I'm going to put that in my hand. It's a 10 of crows, if you want to see what that is, but it's not going to help me at all. That's the end of my turn. And we go to the next round. The Terratot is going to get 2 actions, and I am going to get 2 actions. The Terratot is going to get to go first, so he is going to charge me, more than likely, because I'm within his charge range. So he's going to spend 2 AP and charge. He is going to get 2 attacks on me. The first attack, I am going to try to defend, so I drew a 2. So a 2 and a 3 is a 5, so I do take damage. He has a 10 and I have a 5, so that's actually 5 difference. So that means that he gets to do a standard flip. So whatever he flips is what I get, and I get second level damage, so I actually take 2 damage. And he is going to attempt to attack me again. I got a 10 for defense plus my 3, which is 13, which is more than his 10, so he missed me on the second round. Now it's back to my turn. I really have no choice but to try to get away from him, so I am going to spend 1 AP to do a teleport, add my light. I'm going to go ahead and draw my card and hope for the best. And I got 11 of crows, which means that teleport failed. So I'm going to go ahead and get to draw a card. This card is a 1 of books. That doesn't help me either. But I'm going to go ahead and just take a chance. Oh, I can't attack him, so I could try to move again. He's just going to charge me on my next turn. So, at this point, I'm almost dead. I don't think I have any choice but to try to smack him with my sword. So I've decided I'm going to go ahead and use my sword because I really don't have much choice. I'm down to 2 life, and if I don't do something to this guy, he's just going to kill me. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to swing my sword at him, so that's going to cost me 1 AP to do a melee attack with my sword. My AV on the sword is 2, so I'm going to get to add that to whatever I flip. I'm not focusing or anything like that, so all I get to do is flip 1 card and hope for the best. So I'm going to go ahead and flip my 1 card. I got an 8 of tomes plus my sword AV of 2, so that's 10. His defense is 11, so that's not going to hit him. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cheat. So I'm going to cheat with a 10, so that's going to be a 12, and that is going to hit him. That's 1 more than his defense, so I am going to get a negative flip on the damage. This is going to go into my discard pile. I'm going to draw 2 cards, and I have to take the lowest one. So I'm going to draw, I got a 12 of crows, and I got a 3 of mass. I have to take the smaller one. And so my sword does 2, 3, and 4 damage, so I'm going to do 2 damage to him. Unfortunately, he is going to do 1 damage to me because of black blood. So even though I was able to damage him with my sword, he did do some damage back to me. That's the end of the round. That's the end of my turn. I'm hoping to stay alive for 1 more round, but let's see what happens. So the Terratot gets 2 AP. I get 2 AP. He gets to go first because he has initiative. So he's going to attack. He's going to attack me. So I'm going to draw for my defense. I draw a 12 of rams, plus my 3 defense is enough to keep him from hitting me. So he's going to try to attack me again. I'm going to draw for my defense. I draw a 5, plus my 3, which is 8, and his attack is 10. So he hits me. He has beat me by 2, so that is a negative flip for damage, but it's not going to matter. He's going to draw 2 cards, and unless he draws the black joker, I'm going to die. He did not draw the black joker. He drew the 2, so he has to take the 2. So he is going to do 1 damage to me, which is my last life, and I have succumbed to the Terratot. This lucky little Terratot here actually is able to devour me and become a young Nephilim. So I've actually helped him to grow in his Nephilim society. Anyway, that's it. That's how you do the combat in Through the Breach using a magic user. I hope this was helpful. If I did anything wrong, please let me know. But I've studied this, and I think for the most part it is correct. If you have any other comments, please leave them in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this, and until I see you next time, happy gaming. This video was provided by The Lonely Gamer. To see more of our news, reviews, and videos, please visit us at lonelytabletopgamer.com.